August 6th, 1945. A single bomb falls from the belly of a B-29 bomber. 43 seconds later, an entire city ceases to exist. 80,000 people gone in a flash brighter than the sun. But this story doesn't begin here. It begins 3 years and 8 months earlier with what Japan believed was its greatest military triumph. An attack so precise, so devastating, that it was supposed to cripple America forever. Instead, it sealed Japan's fate. This is the story of Pearl Harbor, not as America's darkest day, but as the worst military decision in modern history. December 7th, 1941. It's a quiet Sunday morning in Hawaii. Sailors are eating breakfast. Some are still asleep. The air smells like coffee and ocean salt. At 7:48 a.m., the first wave hits. 353 Japanese aircraft tear across the sky in a formation so massive it looks like a storm cloud made of metal. Within 90 minutes, 4 battleships are sitting on the ocean floor. Another 4 are damaged beyond recognition. 188 aircraft destroyed before they ever left the ground. 2,403 Americans are dead. For Japan's military planners, this was perfection. Admiral Yamamoto's strategy had worked exactly as designed, or so they thought. Here's what most people don't know. The architect of the attack, Admiral Yamamoto, never wanted this war. He had lived in America. He studied at Harvard. He traveled the country by Greyhound bus, visiting factories in Detroit, oil fields in Texas, and steel mills in Pittsburgh. And what he saw terrified him. He once told his colleagues, "I can run wild for 6 months to a year, but after that, I have no confidence." Yamamoto understood something his own government refused to accept. America wasn't just a country, it was an industrial continent. In 1941, the United States produced more steel than the rest of the world combined. Its automobile factories alone could build more machines in a month than Japan could in a year. Attacking America wasn't poking a sleeping giant. It was punching a volcano and hoping it wouldn't erupt. But Japan was desperate. An American oil embargo had cut off 80% of Japan's fuel supply. Without oil, the Imperial Navy would be dead in the water within 18 months. The military leadership saw only 2 options: surrender their empire or gamble everything on a knockout blow. They chose the gamble, and they lost it before the first bomb even dropped. Here's where the story takes a turn nobody talks about. The attack on Pearl Harbor was devastating, yes, but it missed almost everything that actually mattered. The 3 American aircraft carriers, Enterprise, Lexington, and Saratoga, were not in the harbor that morning. They were out at sea on routine missions. Japan sank battleships, enormous, intimidating, headline-grabbing battleships. But here's the truth military historians know. Battleships were already obsolete. The future of naval warfare belonged to aircraft carriers, and Japan didn't touch a single one. It's like burning someone's horse stable in 1910 while leaving their automobile factory untouched. And it gets worse. Japan's bombers also ignored the submarine base, the naval shipyard, and most critically, the oil storage tanks at Pearl Harbor. 4.5 million barrels of fuel sat in above-ground tanks, completely undefended. Admiral Chester Nimitz himself later said that if Japan had destroyed those fuel reserves, it would have prolonged the war by another 2 years. The fuel that powered America's Pacific counterattack was sitting right there. Japan flew over it twice and never dropped a bomb. But the most catastrophic miscalculation wasn't military, it was psychological. Before Pearl Harbor, America was a divided nation. Polls showed that 80% of Americans opposed entering the war. Isolationism wasn't just a policy, it was an identity. Mothers wrote letters to Congress begging them to keep their sons home. Senators gave speeches arguing that Europe's wars were Europe's problem. The country that would become the world's superpower was sitting on the sidelines, arguing with itself. And then came December 7th. The attack didn't just unite America, it transformed it. Within 24 hours, Congress declared war with only a single dissenting vote, 1 out of 470. Recruiting offices were flooded with volunteers. Men who had been against the war the day before were now standing in line at 6 in the morning to enlist. Women poured into factories. A country that had been producing consumer goods, refrigerators, cars, radios, converted its entire industrial base to war production in a matter of months. By 1944, America was producing a new ship every single day. One aircraft rolled off assembly lines every 5 minutes. The country was building weapons faster than the rest of the world could use them. Japan had wanted to break America's will. Instead, it gave America something it never had before, a single, unified, burning purpose. Think about this for a moment. Before Pearl Harbor, you were living in a nation that couldn't decide if it even belonged in this war. Your neighbor thought it was none of America's business. Your senator was arguing for neutrality. Then one Sunday morning, everything changes. Your brother enlists. Your mother takes a job welding ship hulls. Your father, who swore he'd never support another war, is buying war bonds. The entire country, every factory, every farm, every family, bends toward one goal. That's not something any government could have manufactured. Japan manufactured it for them. Admiral Yamamoto reportedly said after the attack, "I fear all we have done is to awaken a sleeping giant and fill him with a terrible resolve." Whether he actually said those exact words is debated, but the sentiment was prophetic. Within 6 months, Japan suffered its first decisive defeat at the Battle of Midway. Within 3 years, its navy was shattered. Within 4 years, 2 atomic bombs ended the war that Pearl Harbor had started. And here's the haunting irony that makes this story unforgettable. The man who planned the attack, the man who warned his government that it would fail, didn't live to see how right he was. Admiral Yamamoto was killed in 1943 when American codebreakers intercepted his flight plan and sent fighters to shoot down his plane. The architect of Pearl Harbor was destroyed by the very machine he helped create. So the next time someone tells you Pearl Harbor was America's greatest tragedy, ask them this: was it? Or was it the moment an isolationist nation of farmers and factory workers looked at each other and decided, together, to become the most powerful military force the world has ever seen? Japan wanted to destroy America's fleet. Instead, it built America's empire. Now here's my question for you. If you could go back and sit across from Admiral Yamamoto in 1941, what would you tell him? Would you say, "Don't attack"? Or would you say, "Attack differently"? Drop your answer in the comments. And if this story made you see Pearl Harbor in a way you never had before, subscribe, because every week on Histopia, we tear open the moments that changed everything and ask the questions nobody else is asking.